Okay, while the painters were painting, I was out here gardening and getting my seeds in. And this year I'm doing a modified version of the square foot garden. You can see in this bed over here I did the regular square foot garden last year as well as this year. So I'm going to start with that one. And about a month ago I planted potatoes and they're doing pretty well. Those are all purple potatoes. And you can see that I planted onions as a border around the bed to discourage insects from eating the plants. And I had some volunteer tomatoes come up by themselves, so I'm going to leave them alone, even though I wasn't particularly thrilled with the black chocolate cherry tomatoes last year because they weren't really that dark. I'm going to go ahead and let them grow because I just don't have the heart to pull them out. And I got some of the ground cherries coming up, and I loved those last year, so that's a bonus. Those are volunteers. So I had some damage to my potatoes, which I can just pull off. But for the most part, they're doing pretty good. And then I've got more onions right here because that's where the sprinkler head is. So I figured that would be a good spot to stick more onions. And I've got more tomato volunteers coming up, little seed heads in the back. So this is what I've planted across the back 2 squares. I have Paul Robeson black tomatoes, and this is what they look like. Pretty nice. And then right next to that I have true black Brandywine tomatoes, and I can't wait to have those because I love Brandywine. So this is what they'll look like. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx anything. And then right next to them I have the Tomato Sun Gold Select 2. And the little farming project at the juvenile hall last year grew them, and John bought some of their tomatoes and they were delicious, so I wanted to grow my own this year. And then directly in front of that I've got some more volunteers coming up. I don't know if you can see them. Some more volunteer tomatoes from last year. So that's more of the chocolate cherries. And then I've got I planted some German red strawberry tomatoes over here. So that's what's growing in those plots. And then across this entire section right here I have rutabaga. Now rutabaga is not a naturally occurring thing. It's a cross. But it's still an heirloom. Everything that I planted is an heirloom. I can't remember what it's a cross of, but you can't eat the greens. Unlike a turnip, which is related to, you can eat the turnip greens, but you can't eat the rutabaga greens. So that's why I planted it separate over here. So it's going to grow in there. Alright, right here I planted tomatillos, purple ones. And that's this bed. And then what I did is I converted the other half of the tortoise pen and filled it with dirt and sectioned it off. And this is what I have growing. So I have the forbidden. My husband hates corn and hates how it looks, but I sneaked it in. Across the bottom here I have Country Gentleman white sweet corn. And I don't know if you can see because that's pretty far away. That's what it'll hopefully be like. And then I'm trying to do the Three Sisters method of planting corn, squash, and beans. And as I understand it, that the beans provide nitrogen to the soil for the corn, and the squash shelters the soil and keeps it shady and keeps the roots shaded. So they work together, supposed to be mutually beneficial. So that's how I planted it. I've got the corn across here. I have got these fabulous royalty purple pod beans. Can you see them? Okay, so those are growing directly in front of the corn, and the plan is that they will use the corn as a trellis to the trellis that I created out of the former tortoise pen door that I've lashed onto stakes and onto the fence. It's not pretty, but it makes up for ugliness by being functional. So the beans are growing right there. Directly in front of the beans I have two different types of squash. So I planted two types of squash, butternut and squash, straight neck squash, yellow squash, right across this row right here. And then across these two rows I planted cucumber, a Beet Alpha cucumber, a Punakira cucumber, a gray zucchini, and this Choctaw sweet potato, which is not a sweet potato but actually a squash in that corner. And then over here I have planted in long rows as opposed to the sectioned off squares. So I have mustard, turnip, which is a golden globe turnip, which you can eat the greens, and a purple Milan turnip, golden beets, chard, and mesclun classic mix in these areas. And then I planted garlic interspersed to protect them from any predatory insects, and that is it. So this is the garden. And then I also reseeded some strawberries in the original bed because they say that strawberries just stop producing after a while. So there we go. And I'll do the plant pots tomorrow. The pots are over there. I got some bare roots. Okay.